In math today, we will begin by opening our math task. Please click on activities. Angela, do you need?
I can't find my math.
Okay, we're finding it right now. Click on activities, please. Assign to class folder. And dark blue math. And our lesson today is called Sort to Compare. Sort to compare. You can just wait right here. If you want to open it up, you can. But let's wait right here. And I'm going to start with our success criteria. And then we're going to watch a couple quick example videos from Miss Sharp before we do a Jamboard where we get to work together. Okay, so focus your attention. What are we learning today? Let's watch some examples from Miss Sharp, and then we get to do a learning activity together.
Today we are going to be continuing with comparing two fractions with the same numerator by reasoning about their size based on the same whole. We will be looking at fractions and creating also our own comparisons with the same numerator and also justifying our conclusions. We'll be using our conclusions with our models using words such as numerator, conclusion, results, whole number, greater than, less than, unit fraction.
Okay, so using our math vocabulary today, we will explain how we know how to compare fractions. We're going to next watch an example video from Miss Sharp about sorting fractions using math vocabulary. Right now, you're focusing your attention. Even if your Chromebook is open, I shouldn't see your hands touching anything because you are focusing your attention up here. Still waiting on lots of pairs of eyes that are doing something else with their Chromebook. Thank you, much better, thank you. Let's see this example from Miss Sharp.
Today we are going to be practicing comparing multiple fractions. Here in the middle I have a fraction and it is 2/5. And then I've got 4 fractions up here that I am going to sort based on where they fall in this comparison sentence. So you see I've got a blank here, less than 2/5, which is less than blank. So on this side are going to be fractions that all of them are less than my 2/5 in the middle. So this on this side is going to be less than fractions. And then here, 2/5 is less than these fractions over here. So on this side, I'm going to be putting fractions that are greater than my 2/5. So this is how this comparison sentence chain works. And so that I know that I am doing my best and using what I know about fractions, I'm going to first think about what I know. I know that when the numerators are all the same, I'm going to look at the denominator. And I remember that saying that the larger the denominator, the smaller the piece. It's opposite of what I normally think. So I'm going to keep that in mind as I do this sort. And I'm going to put it down here just to remind myself. Here there is a link to our Fraction Bars website. So I'm going to start by opening that up and building 2/5. So here is that, and I'm going to build 2/5. So my denominator is going to be 5. And my numerator is going to be 2. So this is what I am comparing all of my fractions to. So I'm going to start with 2/6, and I'm going to build 2/6, and I'm going to compare it. If I look at my 2/6, I see that it is less than my 2/5. So I'm going to come back here, and I'm going to move my 2/6 to less than. My next fraction is 2/3. So I'm going to keep my 2/5 and get rid of that one. And I'm going to change this to 2/3 and compare it to my 2/5. I can tell that my 2/3 is definitely greater than my 2/5. So that means it goes over here under greater than. 2/5 is less than 2/3. If I come back here, I see that this is definitely less than this. I'm done with this one. I keep my 2/5 here because that's my middle fraction, and I want to build 2/4. So I come build 2/4 and I compare it here. I look and I see that 2/5 is definitely less than 2/4. So 2/4 is greater. So it also comes on this side. I'm done with that, so I get rid of that 2/4, and my last fraction is 2/8. So I'm going to build my 2/8 and compare it. 2/8 is less than my 2/5. So here, my 2/8 will come under here under less than. So now I've got lots of comparisons here, and I'm going to check it with what I already know. I said that the larger the denominator, the smaller the piece. So I will notice that my less than number fractions on this side all have the larger denominators. My smaller denominators are on the greater than side. 2, 3 are over here. Sorry, 3 and 4 are over here. And then 6 and 8 are down here on the smaller pieces, the less than. I could take this and I could make several different statements. I could take this and I could say that 2/6 is less than 2/5. I could also write another comparison statement. I could say that 2/5 is less than one of these. Let's pick 2/4. I could also use this and use one from here and one from here and say that 2/8 is less than 2/3. And all of these statements would be true. If I look at them, the smaller fraction has the larger denominator. 6 is larger than 5. 5 is larger than 4. 8 is larger than 3. So after completing this sort, I can come up with a lot of different comparison statements using these 5 fractions, going from smallest to largest.
Okay, so Miss Sharp has just demonstrated some vocabulary and some thinking that we are all going to do today. Today, we are going to be comparing fractions and sorting them like Miss Sharp was showing us. On our seesaw task, when you click on either here, you can find the Jamboard link, or if you already opened it up, you will need to click on View Instructions at the top and go to the blue Jamboard link. Please join me on Jamboard and open it up. Okay, and now that we have people joining Jamboard, I am going to mask should be on your face, and you should be listening to directions. Shh, nope, you're talking back. I'm going to give some students a page number to work on. So on slide number 1, let's put some names on here. If you are drawing on the Jamboard, you need to stop.
That's not me.
I didn't say it was you. If you are adding to the Jamboard, you need to stop. Thank you. On slide number 1, let's have Kaylee and Alicia work on slide number 1. So I want you to go ahead and start thinking about what Miss Sharp was doing. How can you figure that out? On slide number 2, let's have Maberly and Mercedes work on slide number 2. You guys can go to slide number 2 and get started.
Okay.
On slide number 3, we're going to have Ashley, Libby, and Gloria. Slide number 3. Go ahead and get started, Ashley, Libby, and Gloria. Slide number 4. Good focus. Thank you for listening. Let's have Day and Theo start on slide number 4. Okay. On slide number 5, we're going to have, oops, sorry. We're going to have Kellen and Mr. Vin on slide number 5, working together. Ready, Kellen?
Yeah.
Go ahead and get started. On slide number 6, will be Haley and Honesty and Landon on slide number 6. On slide number 7, we will have Jillian, Jonathan. Go ahead and get started on slide number 7. Slide number 8.
I don't know. Jonathan?
And is Angela and Nick left? Okay. Nick and Angela.
Wait, how come we got 12 boards in?
Just extras. All right, so on your slide, I want you to sort the fractions to make a true comparison. Think back to Miss Sharp's examples. You have a fraction in the middle, and you need to drag the fractions to make correct comparisons. We will go back. We need friends to not be adding shapes. You're not adding any shapes. You are dragging fractions on your assigned slide.
I didn't take out the shape.
There should not be anything added to the Jamboard. With your group, I want you to move them and make a true comparison. And then you're going to create a model to prove that you are correct. You are on what, Nick? What number are you on? You're on number 8. Okay. All right, you have 5 minutes to make your comparison, make a model on your slide. Okay, 5 minutes, you can get started. On slide number 2, we are going to put these fractions in order from smallest to largest when compared to the whole. So we have a bunch of fractions here in the middle, and we're going to order them from smallest to largest. On slide 2, again, Ms. Sharp has put the link to the fraction bars tool. This is a really helpful tool for us when we are making models. I'm going to put my 1 whole so that next to 1 whole, I can compare some fractions. Go ahead and open up your fraction tool. I see Angela has it. She's ready to go. And be ready to build some fractions together. You can order them. I'm going to show others who still need help building the fractions. Okay. All right. So some fractions I see 1/3. So I'm going to start and build 1/3 using my fraction bar tool. I have now built 1/3 and I'm going to put it
I can't.
next to one whole.
My screen will
Okay, be patient with technology. Be patient with technology. So 1/3, I'm going to actually highlight it so I know which ones I'm building. I'm building 1/3 and I'm going to compare 1/6 to it. I'm going to compare 1/3 and 1/6. I'm thinking about Miss Sharp saying the bigger the denominator, the smaller the piece. But just to be sure, I'm going to build 1/6 and compare it to 1/3. I see that 1/6 is a smaller piece. 6 is the bigger denominator, but it is the smaller piece. So I know that 1/6 is less than 1/3. So I'm going to order these 1/3 and 1/6. I see 1/6 is smaller. So I'm going to put it next to it, closer to the smaller side. Okay. Next is 1/2. Thinking about 1/2. My denominator is 2. The bigger the denominator, the smaller the piece. Well, 2 is a small denominator. So that's the opposite, right? If there's only 2 parts, it's going to be a pretty big piece. So let's compare 1/2 to 1/3. I'm going to get rid of 1/6. I still have 1/3. And I'm going to compare it to 1/2 just to be sure. Yep, I thought 1/2 was bigger. If there's only 2 parts, it's going to be bigger than 3 parts. I thought we were right. I'm glad I checked with my model. So 1/2 is greater than 1/3. 1/2 is bigger than 1/3. Okay, I'm going to keep 1/3 here. And I'm going to compare it to 1/4. I'm going to compare 1/3 and 1/4 to see which one is probably bigger. Kaylee, what are you predicting?
I'm predicting it's larger.
Then what?
So one,
I mean,
1/3.
yeah.
So Kaylee's predicting 1/4 is a bigger piece than 1/3 or less than. Okay, so Kaylee wants to see is 1/3 or 1/4 bigger. We're going to build both. Here's 1/3. Now I'm going to show 1/4 and compare it. Oh my goodness. I'm glad we checked, Kaylee. I'm glad we checked. 1/4 is smaller. Remember, the bigger the denominator, the smaller the piece. So if 1/4 is less than 1/3, it needs to go to the left of it by small. So what about 1/6 and 1/4? Thank you. What about 1/6 and 1/4? Which one would be greater? The bigger the denominator, the smaller the piece. So which one's smaller, 1/6 or 1/4, Angela? 1/6 because our denominator is bigger, right? Good thinking, Angela. I love that you're able to teach others. So let's keep going. I still have 1/8. Oh my gosh, where would 1/8 be? Would it be on the larger or smaller? What are we thinking, Landon?
Smallest.
How do you know it's going to be the smallest?
Because the bigger the denominator.
The bigger the denominator, the smaller the piece. So let's look at our order here. We go from 8 to 1/6, 1/4, 1/3, 1/2. Notice how our smallest parts have a big denominator Our biggest parts have a small denominator. Funny how it's kind of backwards. Isn't that funny? Go ahead, Angela.
That's what I was saying yesterday.
It does. If you want to order it like this, like Angela's thinking, if you want to stretch them out, that is just fine with me. If you want it to look like that. Okay, then you will say how you know. Remember that word justify, our conclusion. Explain your thinking. How do you know? This is where you will type your response. How do you know that your work is correct? Today, friends on Zoom, you need to continue on showing your knowledge on slide 3 and go all the way to slide number 8. You have some directions here that you can listen to if you get stuck. On slide number 9, there is some math games that you can try to show about your comparison of fraction. And finally, on slide number 10, you will reflect on your success today. How successful were you with comparing and ordering fractions? That is your work today, to start on slide number 3 and finish all the slides showing me what you have learned. I'm going to go ahead and end our Zoom here.
Did you just listen? Yes.